In this video, we're gonna make a track out of regular, normal, ordinary household items, and this may or may not have been directly influenced by the man himself, Andrew Huang. Hey yo, it's Alex from Edit My Music. I'm a musician, producer, and certified audio engineer here to help you level up your music, unlock your creativity, and make music your life. And I have this little portable camera rig that I'll bring alongside me around the house as we record things. And here's the plan of action. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to roam around my house with this thing, which in case you don't know what it is an Ableton Push 3, which has an audio interface built into it. I'll station to different rooms and just record as many samples as possible. And to try to kind of harness and create order out of the chaos, the game plan is going to be to record sounds for rhythm, sounds for bass, sounds for melody, sounds for harmony, and then sounds for extra dynamics and fun stuff around that, which consequently is the first stage of the system that I use and teach my clients, which is called Calibrate, where we design expressive instruments inside those four elements. If you want to learn more about what that all is and how to design expressive instruments, as well as the rest of the workflow to finish music from start to finish and streamline the whole creative process and have a bunch of fun, I have a whole course that I've created that you can get for free, so you can grab it in the link in the description if you're interested. All right, so I think we're good to go on our adventure. We got a camera, we got a recording device, and we're gonna go grab some samples. So let's giddy up. Let's go record some samples. And there's no better place to make music than the kitchen. Wait a second, I just realized that we still need a microphone. Luckily, I got one right here that got sent to me by Fifine. I might be saying that wrong, but they sent me this microphone that we are going to use to sample all of the samples that we're gonna record, and they sent me this Ampli-Tank microphone. So we have this instruction manual, which we'll save that for later. Whoa, this thing, right? So, wow, that's pretty cool. It's got a pop filter built in, looks like it's got an awesome mounting, what do you call this, cradle? And then it's got some awesome settings, XLR, USB, it's got a headphone out. Holy man, like we're gonna check this out some more, but for now, we're gonna be using this to sample some stuff into Push. Now I'm just looking around the kitchen for objects that could work for rhythm. So I got like a whisk, I have barbecue pincers, whatever you call that. I have some mustard. For the bass sounds, I'm thinking we're gonna use some watery things to try and get a little bit more of a pitch out of bodies of water. So the first step to that is and now I'm gonna be looking around for things that could produce a tone. And I found like these cups, for example, is a jackpot. Right? So I'm gonna fill them with different amounts of water and get different tones, and then just seek around for different things, for cool textures, tones, and then we'll move to another room. Found the jackpot. Pretty much exhausted our options in the kitchen, so let's relocate this operation. So obviously, we're not gonna use the drum kit because that would be cheating, but there's a ton of things in here, and there's a bunch of boxes because we moved recently, don't judge me. So I'm gonna be scouring around this garage to find stuff for rhythm, bass, melody, harmony, some dynamic stuff, and record it into Push as well. So let's get to work. That was so delayed, that sucks. Let's actually take a sec to look at how awesome this mic is. So this is the K688 microphone type. And if we look at some of the features, it's got a microphone capsule, it's dynamic, right? So you don't need external power. It has a detachable windscreen, as you can see here, for plosives. It's got XLR out for any kind of normal audio interface or mixer. And it also has a Type-C USB port, so you can connect this microphone directly to your computer without an audio interface. If you're on the go, on your laptop, you want to record a voiceover, you want to record a podcast, you don't need to bring your audio interface with you. All in all, this is a really awesome feature-heavy microphone that is super cost-effective. So again, if you want to learn more about this microphone, check out the link in the description. All right. I think that's it for the garage. We got some cool sounds here, definitely stoked, but I do feel like we're missing a little bit of the melodic elements. We've got some cool stuff in the kitchen, but I don't really have a lot of stuff to make like pitched instruments with. And I was thinking about it, and I think I've got just a solution. So let's actually move to our third location. Is a dog an object? I found the secret weapon, which is baby toys. Now, this is totally cheating, but I also kind of don't care. But I'm gonna try not to cheat and record direct instruments. But if I'm in a pinch, we're just gonna sample this xylophone. All right, so I think that we've gotten enough samples with kitchen, garage, and living room. So I'm gonna go ahead and bring that over to the computer, and we're gonna start making a track. But before that, coffee time. So let's go back in here. And I've essentially just connected my push to the computer over here and loaded it up into Ableton, which Ableton is awesome for that. It makes it super easy. And what I'm gonna do again is I'm going to focus on building 4 instruments so I can play those instruments and start coming up with ideas for the foundation of this track. And then maybe we can use other samples for fun extra stuff. What is up? I've stationed you in the corner of the studio for now because now we're back here. And just as we were transitioning, I figured to go ahead and give this a go for a test for the microphone. So earlier in this video, you were hearing a Rode portable microphone plugged into my phone, and later on you're going to see the mic that I normally use, which is this Elgato Wave DX, and you can compare them all to this microphone as well. So you let me know in the comments down below what you think of the sound of this microphone. So let's go ahead and get rock and rolling. So what we're going to do is we have all these clips that we've recorded, right, with a bunch of samples. Right, so we're in Ableton now with all of the clips and the samples that we've recorded. So if I double click here, we can see all of these samples. So what I'm gonna do is start listening to them and building instruments for rhythm, bass, melody, and harmony, and maybe something extra for fun so I can get my hands on them with push and start playing in parts and start getting the foundational ideas for a track. So I'll pop in and out of the process when cool shit happens. All right. So I'm gonna walk you through a little bit of what I've done and skip ahead to some interesting highlights because otherwise this video would be a zillion years long. So what I did was I would like click and drag a sample and bring it over to arrangement view where I would then listen to it. Right, let's just play it. So I would hear the sample and pick out cool parts that I thought I liked and just decide what I want to keep and what I didn't, and then did that for most of these samples, right? So if we go back to session view, I went through all of these samples and started to identify some standalone samples that I think would be cool to sprinkle around an arrangement, and then I started to build instruments like I was telling you. So if I give you a quick overview of these instruments, like for the drum kit, this is what it sounds like. Right, so I have these different samples and I've processed them a little bit. I've layered multiple sounds for one drum hit. Like I think there's 3 layers for the single kick, so on and so forth. But I'm creating these instruments where I can play them. You'll see that I've populated different samples on the drum racks and some of them have multiple. So you can see here that we have 2 different samples, both being triggered by C1. So when I play this drum pad, both of these samples are being played. You can mix them differently if you want to with the volume control, which I've done over here. That's a really sneaky technique where, for example, here we have 3 layered sounds mixed at different kind of levels to get a full-bodied type of snare. Moving on to the bass, believe it or not, this was me blowing into that plant waterer. Right? So it makes a really cool breathy bass sound. And if I actually show you maybe the bass sound here, right? What happened here is if we zoom into the simpler, right? We actually just took this sample, which was me blowing into that plant waterer. What happened here? Well, I just chose that part of the sample that I wanted to play with, right? And then I had to tune it so that it was in tune, right? So what I did is I'm hitting C on push right here, right? I want to make sure that in Ableton, that our tuner is showing C as well, right? So what I did is I adjusted the detune so that it would be an actual pitch when we played it. So it's in pitch. And essentially that's all I did. Plus I added some saturation and some multi-band dynamics, right? To really crush this thing and put it into place. If I remove this, right, you'll notice the sound change, which is closer to what it actually sounds. But once we go beneath the hood and we add some processing like this saturator and the OTT, you can hear that the low end gets crushed down and gets saturated a little bit so that we have like a steady bass sound in the low end. Moving on, I have this percussion drum rack with a bunch of random stuff and those like pitched instruments that I've tuned. Then I have this melodic instrument, which is kind of like this fluty type of thing. I believe this came from either that plant waterer or some other thing that made a pitch, right? And then from there, the harmony, I actually took those glasses that I hit and created an instrument that sounds like almost a thumb piano. So again, creating instruments out of all of these different things is what has enabled me to start piecing together a track, right? And this is kind of what I got so far in terms of all these parts. I got a B section here. Of course, they still have to be edited and maybe perfected, but starting to get some momentum for an idea. So I'm going to continue. I got another cool trick I want to share with you. So I just loaded in one of these dynamic samples and found when we used the manual for the microphone on the tire of a bike, sounds like this. Right? Pretty gnarly. Almost sounds like a square wave or an oscillator or something, right? So what I did is I took the sample and I put it into a simpler device on a new track over here, right? We'll color it purple, right? And I'm like, this is a perfect sample to kind of create an instrument around, right? So the way it works is once you load this into the simpler, now when I go ahead and play it, so when I hold the pad, it basically triggers the sample, right? Simple enough. But here's the fun part. Let's actually find the part where there's kind of a sustained amount of pitch, let's call it, but a sustained sound. So let's go a little bit ahead. Cool, let's go there. So here's the fun part. We can actually shorten this a ton. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop it, and we're going to change the length of the sample. Now look at this. Like, check out what happens. So this is looping this little part, right? But what happens if we go even less? What happens if we go even less? Even less. Right? That is the fastest you can go, but it's looping so fast that it makes a pitch. Right? You can play chords with it, but this would be sick as another melodic device. Right? So believe it or not, this instrument is a bicycle tire. And then just with some really quick adjustments, we can really tune this in to maybe we want like some sort of pad or lead instrument, whatever it is. So let's say we want to increase the spread. It just kind of detunes it a little bit, gives it a little bit more stereo image. Maybe we want to filter out some of the high end, increase the resonance. Right? And then maybe we also want some release times. So when we let go of the pads, they kind of stick out. Right? Ooh, I like where we're going. I'm at the point where I have all these clips stacked and I've got pretty much a rough composition. Now it's not perfect, but it's pretty much got a flow from like an intro to a part to a chorus of sorts, back to that part, and then to a different type of section towards the end. So what I'm going to do is instead of like clicking and dragging all these clips over, I'm actually going to do something that I love about Ableton, which is I'm going to go over here to my hands, and I'm going to perform these clips into arrangement view. That first clip is being triggered in Ableton, and it's printing it down to the arrangement view. So we'll let it play a couple times. Right, so we're playing that clip. So on and so forth. If I go back over here, right, I trigger, let's say the second scene. Now we're recording the bass and the melody, right? So on and so forth. Let it play a couple times. Then we'll go to the next section, right? And then I can do this with my hands. Instead of having to do this, can kind of feel it. Right? We'll trigger the scene right here. So on and so forth. I printed the arrangement down by performing it, and now I just listened around and I edited some parts, I played some things in and just chiseled away the general structure of the song. We're at about 4.5 minutes, so I might cut it down some more. So it's starting off with this pad. Right, then it comes in. Kind of a build, and then we bring in this chord with some delay, right? And then we go into another groove. That part, and we go back to the main part with the drum beat. And then here I just chopped up some stuff to make it a little bit more interesting. So it sounds like this. Then I added some percussion over here. Right, it's kind of like this giant build that builds up to here. into this outro part, right? So I got the main structure here, but again, only using sounds that we've recorded so far. So there we go, an entire track made of only objects that I found around my house. If you want a deeper dive into how to design instruments in the various ways that we approached it in today's video, then I highly encourage you check out this video next, where I go super deep down the rabbit hole of designing expressive instruments like the ones we use today. So when you're ready, I'll see you in that video.